just figuring out how to record as I say that. But anyway, so I wanted to introduce Fred McKay and Patrick Finneran formally. They both had a chance to speak to us individually, but never together. And in this extraordinary time, it makes sense for us to hear about what it's like to lead a school and to educate in a time of the coronavirus. So, starting in primary school, Fred, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Frank. Good afternoon, everyone. Fred McKay, principal of the Charleston Catholic School, located in downtown Charleston on the peninsula, right next to Sacred Heart Catholic Church. This is my 15th year as principal here at Charleston Catholic, and 25th year with the diocese as a school administrator. So very happy to serve the diocese and serve the students here at Charleston Catholic. We just have a wonderful little gem of a school in downtown, and just K through 8, pre-K through 8th grade. Right now we're at 170 students starting out for this school year. And you can only imagine, what all we had to kind of plan for and prepare for over the summer. I know Patrick will agree, but this was really not the summer for vacation. I took 1 week, and even that week I was still on Zoom calls and getting phone calls from the diocese, even during that supposedly week of vacation. But hopefully we'll get a break at some point. But it's been a lot of work getting ready, learning all the medical information that we needed from health organizations, obviously CDC for national, DHEC for South Carolina. You get local, health information. MUSC has been a very, very great partner for us. So you do that. You get, obviously, we've been dealing a lot with the diocese, Catholic schools office, the finance office, this office, that office. It's been a lot of Zoom meetings, probably the last 3 or 4 months, right, Patrick? And Patrick and I are also serving on this new advisory team of principals. There's 6 of us advising the new superintendent, Mr. Bill Ryan, who started July 1, right in the middle of all this, efforts here to reopen schools. So we've been 2 of us. We're 2 of the 6 people on the advisory team. I don't know if I'll speak for Patrick, but I really like his leadership style and the way he's been engaging the Catholic school principals, learning about the diocese, learning about our particular situations, and advising us. He came from the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C., and of course, they were dealing with, the pandemic last spring in his area. So he definitely brings some knowledge of what it takes to have some safe and effective schools. So we've taken a lot of precautions, a lot of protocols. Every morning, the families pull up in car line, and, we ask the driver if anybody in the house has any symptoms. We take temperatures of all the students. So far, so good. We haven't had any issues, and today's the end of our 2nd week. We've had 2 weeks now of in-person learning, as well as some hybrid learning. We kind of try to do it all so that we get experience with both. We had some half days to get started for some orientation the first week. We brought different groups of students in at a time, kind of make the transition smoother. And this week we've been doing a hybrid schedule. So students were here every other day and on the computer doing remote learning on the other days, just in case, if the governor shuts us down or the bishop tells us we need to shut down, if the virus count gets, back up high again, we'll be ready to do our hybrid learning, things of that nature. So we gave students and families the option of in-person learning and remote learning. And as of this coming Tuesday after Labor Day, we're going to have only 10 students staying at home doing remote learning. We'll have 160 students on campus. And for those 10 students, it's because of some sort of health condition, health concern, whether it's the student themselves, the parents, or in some cases we have grandparents that live in the household, and it could be a situation with that. So they're all basically medically taking some precautions, and we're Zooming them into class. So the teachers are teaching the students in the classroom, and then we're Zooming the ones that are home into the class. So they're like this, like us, but in the classroom and able to feel like they're in the class. We are having the students wear their uniform when they're on the Zoom call so that they will look like the other students that are actually in the classroom. And we felt like that was important. We wanted them to sit at a desk or a table, to really feel like they're in school and not just lounging around in their bedroom or, in the den on a couch or whatever. So we wanted to be really a little bit more like school and have them have a designated workspace in their house for their lessons. And so not only we're having the live instruction with Zoom, but we send all their assignments through Google Classroom. We're using that for all of our assignments. And that's true of the students in person and at home. All of the assignments are sent through Google Classroom so that all the students know what they need to do for the next day or that week, whatever it might be. But I know Patrick will say the same thing. Our teachers have been phenomenal. I mean, they have been fantastic, learning a lot of different ways to teach, learning technology, and just maintaining some enthusiasm for this whole, different experience that none of us, could really, really prepare for. And I can't say enough about the teachers at Charleston Catholic. And I think really the teachers throughout the whole diocese would be my guess, have really just done a super, super job embracing this new way of doing education. So.
Thank you, Fred. Appreciate that. We'll kind of throw out questions after Patrick here for both of you.
Sure. Thank you, Frank. So Patrick Finneran, this is my 8th year at Bishop High School, my 18th year of being a principal. And this is probably the weirdest year of starting school that I've ever experienced. Because of the size of our school, our enrollment is up, surprisingly, because of COVID-19. We started the school year of 685 kids. We have a couple of kids who are still thinking about coming. They have to make that decision soon. So we're about 10 kids from last year. I started last year. Because of the size of our school and the size of our building, decided to go a hybrid model, and we divided our kids by alphabet. So A through L comes on one day, that's our Bishop group, and M through Z comes on the other day. That is our England group. But on the days they're home, they are actually participating in class. We use Microsoft Teams, so it's sort of like Zoom, but they will enter the meeting on Teams, and we purchase cameras that have microphones and speakers in them for each classroom, and then 2 50-inch TVs for the back, so the teacher can see the kids at home while they're teaching. And so you can share your screen and show PowerPoints and videos and anything you would do in the classroom, you can do that using the Microsoft Teams version. So we made that decision at the end of July. We had to kind of make a decision to let our parents know where we were going. We pushed our start of our school back a week to add some training for our teachers, and they're doing amazing stuff. So it's definitely a different start for our kids. Our kids love being back in school. They're not so much of a fan of the online part of it, but they understand it. All kids wear a mask, all faculty staff wear a mask as well. We do temperature checks every morning for every person who comes in the building. If you come visit us, we don't allow very many visitors. But if you're coming to visit, you have to have your temperature taken and you have to answer a few questions. We use a thing called Healthy Roster for our kids. So they get a text message at 6:15 in the morning, and they have to fill out a survey, and it tells them they can come to school or not. So if a student has any of the symptoms of COVID, they have to stay home. Like I mean, today I teach a class. he had to stay home because he had a fever. And so he can't come back to school until he's 24 hours free of fever without any aid to drop down his fever. We have plans in place if we come back 100%. That's our ideal, is all our kids back on campus. We have, of our 685 kids, 10 kids who are 100% virtual. And like Fred, those because of either immune compromise on themselves or someone in their household. There's concerns that way. So we don't have as many as percentage-wise as most schools do. But we have plans for that, and we have plans that we have to go 100% virtual as well. So we spent all summer kind of planning for what it is. There is an expense to what we did. The federal government gave out CARES money, and that's nice. But the overall expenses of starting the school year is probably for us over $300,000 in different things, and that includes changing our water fountains to sinks in the hallway. So we had extra hand washing stations. We have hand sanitizers and wipes and extra cleaning, the thermometers, healthy roster, getting the cameras and all that stuff. So, it was an expense, and it's a big expense for our schools to reopen. But the social emotional needs of our students was the center part of our decision. We wanted in any way possible to have kids back on campus because we understand that is their social life and that they need to be part of that kind of system. And that's the way we can check on them. I don't know how much research you do or have done on schools when we shut down. The state of South Carolina lost 40,000 kids, lost contact with 40,000 kids. Just didn't know where they were, didn't know what was going on. And those are kids at high risk. And all our schools have those kids. And so it's better for us to put eyes on them either every other day in person or every day in person or online. So, when I teach class, I can ask questions and they can respond back to me, the kids sitting at home. And it's just like they're in class because their peers hear them in class as well, and their peers hear them at home. So it's important that happens. I think when you look at most of your private or Christian schools, that's the method they went by because they understand that part of it. We are blessed this year to have Father Frimmel. If you don't know him, he's a resident at Christ Our King. He is doing the campus ministry at College Charleston. He was at Cardinal Newman for the last 3 years. He is our new chaplain. And so we're happy to have him. And then Father Renard West comes one day a week. But because we have Father Frimmel, have Mass every week now. We actually have it 2 days, so every kid can make Mass. And that's been a blessing. We got permission from the diocese to hold Mass in our gymnasium, and our kids sit 6 feet apart with masks, and they love it. They love that part of it. So we didn't stop being a Catholic school to do the things we're doing. Prayer is essential to us, and the sacraments are essential to us, so those kids can still receive those when they're in school, because some of them still don't go to Sunday Mass because some of our churches, just the way its makeup is they fill up pretty quickly, and so those, unless they're prompted to go, a lot of our kids don't go. So this is their Mass they're going to. So that was important to us as well. So that's kind of where we are. Our teachers have been wonderful. Our parents and our students have been great. It's one of those things. Everyone is in this together, and we're pulling the same way, which makes it nice. So we're happy that we're at least together a little bit, and we pray that before too long we can be together always, all of us. So that's where we are right now. You're muted, Frank.
Bad example on my part. So I'll just kind of kick off questions here real quick. Just two things. One is, Patrick, you mentioned 300,000. Obviously, some of those are kind of capital, improvement or adjustments or something like that. But, what percentage, of your respective budgets is kind of the recurring cost for this? That's one. And then the other is, how do you manage physical activity, PE on the primary school level, or obviously sports leagues are a challenge on the high school level. I mean, how have you both handled that as well?
So for us, I'll start, Fred. Sorry, because I was last time to talk. For us, as far as the improvements in the cost, a lot of that money came from CARES, but that money is used for disposable things. So the hand sanitizers and the wipes and the extra people coming in, that's where most of our money. Plexiglass, we've probably spent close to $35,000 in plexiglass shields throughout the school. So all that stuff we paid for CARES money. The other stuff we paid straight from our budget. We had to budget for that. So it's a blessing that we have the 10 extra kids to help pay for that part of it. So we're going to have to kind of find a way to raise that money going forward. But it's important for us to kind of give the opportunity or give the best educational opportunity for our kids. And so we bit the bullet and did it. That's important. As for us is athletics, we're sanctioned by the South Carolina High School League. So we had our first volleyball scrimmage last night. Our tennis team has been playing. They're undefeated so far. And our girls golf team has been playing. They're undefeated. And cross country ran the other day. So kids are aware of social distancing. They're aware of wearing masks. Are they perfect at it? No. But they want to be in school, so they'll do the best they can to maintain that kind of distance.
Yeah, I agree with Patrick. I think the students really want to be back at school. Wearing the mask, not an issue. They're happy to be back. If that's what it takes to be back, they'll do that. We've had staggering recess times. We're trying to do like one grade at a time, and maybe at most 2 grades, so that there's plenty of spacing out there on the recess playground area. So that's been a good thing. And PE class, same thing, trying to have some of those exercises or activities that allow for some distancing. And but the kids love being outside. It's been one of the big things that like MUSC talked about as far as healthy activities is, can they have some classes outside, make sure they have playtime outside, the sunshine, the fresh air is good for everybody. So some of the teachers are going to have some of their classes outside. They'll take turns with some outdoor learning experiences, and certainly try to encourage all the classes to make sure we have good recess activities for them. So
thank you. Questions from the group?
Yeah, I have one. That's okay. So, I will pray it doesn't happen, but what happens if a student tests positive? What's the, what happens then?
That was my question too.
Yeah. So, I think and Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the protocol is whatever grade level that student might have been in. Let's just say it's 4th grade, just pick a grade at the elementary level, 4th grade. If it was one student in the 4th grade, then that class would probably be defined as being in close contact. And the way that close contact's defined is less than 6 feet apart for 15 minutes or more. And certainly our class periods, they're 40, 45 minutes, whatever. So they're certainly there together more than 15 minutes. And even though we've done some good job of spacing in the classrooms, and like Patrick was saying, maybe some plexiglass or some dividers, they're still probably not 6 feet by definition apart. So we have to consider them in close contact. So it might be that one class might have to quarantine, for the 2 weeks, but yet we have this technology now, right? We can use Zoom, and the teacher could still teach the class by Zoom, and that's how we'd have to do it. If there's siblings involved, I think we would keep a close eye on the sibling if they were at grade level and see if they developed any symptoms. As a household member, they would have to quarantine. The sibling would, not necessarily the other class, but the sibling would have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So I think that's pretty much the protocol that we're taking. Does that, Patrick, you got anything to add to that?
But it's a little different for us because our kids are 6 feet apart with masks. So, your first phone call when that happens is to DHEC, and then immediately after that is call to the Catholic Schools office. And DHEC will actually we have our nurse, Karen Searson, is the person to contact with DHEC, and so she'll call, and there'll be a series of questions that go on. They will contact the student and the student's family and ask a variety of questions of who they were around and when they first noticed symptoms and that kind of stuff. So we actually have had students with symptoms but no positive tests yet. So DHEC has always told us, and the symptoms part of it is just to hold off and monitor our kids. So because we monitor our kids every day, we have a little bit more, I would say freedom, a little bit less kind of have to worry about quarantine. But if it becomes you get more than one kid, they become concerned of, is it becoming a spread, super spreader? So, we keep track of that, and the diocese keeps track of positive tests and those kind of things. So,
Dr. Tolly, you had a question.
I have a few.
Okay.
As we know that children and young adults may be asymptomatic or may have symptoms that typically we don't look for. Are you looking for outside the box symptoms, like just joint pain, just regular body aches? You have fever, cough, shortness of breath. Those the major symptoms. Are you looking at any other symptoms other than the general ones that people look for?
For us, we have a whole list of them. I can't pull them up. I can't remember what they are, but they're for most times, you're right, kids are asymptomatic and they'll present with fever, but stomach pain is a big one. Nausea and stomach is a big one for kids. So it's one of those things of, my wife is in education too, and we talk about it often. It's not an if, it's a when you have a student coming in, what that looks like. For Fred, the most recent science shows that kids who are younger than 10 aren't quite super spreaders, but aren't affected. But for us, 10 and older, becomes a bigger issue. Our kids are more like adults, but we educate our kids, and the reason we did what we did is that we are encouraging our families to stay home if there's any concern at all. So I had my young man today. He had a sore throat, and he messaged me back and forth on Teams and said, I think it's just I've talked a lot yesterday, and so I think I'm just I had a sore throat. He said, but my mom and I agreed that I should stay home. So he participated today in all his class virtually, and that's what we're supposed to be happening.
With influenza season coming up soon,
Yeah.
Are you requiring all students and faculty to be vaccinated against influenza, 1, and 2, for your older faculty members, are they going to be receiving the high potency influenza vaccine?
For our high risk ones, they normally do that anyways. They take the vaccine. As a school, we're not requiring. We encourage that, especially for our faculty and staff, because they're the ones most at risk. But we encourage it for our students. It's one of those things of you're dealing with people's families and their choices, and so you got to kind of be aware of that as well. So
the situation is, when people have symptoms, you're going, as in in the health professions here, is it the flu or is it COVID?
Right.
And so you'll be seeing soon in the healthcare folks, over at MUSC, we'll be testing for both in some situations.
Yeah, and so I know in the healthcare field we have a couple of doctors here and other people in the health profession, and actually two of them told me that they are being mandated to take the flu vaccine. They've never taken it before, but they're mandated to take it this year by their employer. The diocese doesn't have the last conversation we had about with the diocese was up to the family. I'm
glad to hear that.
Yeah. But but you're right, Dr. Tully, is that is it the flu or is it COVID? No matter what it is, if you don't feel well,
Right, stay home.
Yes.
Stay home. The number one rule: stay home if you feel sick. Whatever it is, stay home.
I have a question. Are you prepared, or will this be a challenge for you if a teacher should become ill and have to quarantine for 14 days? Are you ready to replace that teacher with someone else, or is that something that, well, of course, you're not hoping for anything like that to happen, but just how would that be challenging for you?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, Joan, thanks for the question. We do have a little bit of a sub list. We do have some substitute teachers that could come in and fill in depending on how sick the teacher was. But if the teacher was able to work from home, even if he or she had to quarantine, then we would probably Zoom the teacher in and just have another staff member on campus, at least physically sit with the kids, just to monitor behavior and make sure people are on task. But the actual teacher could teach the lessons through the technology.
So that's kind of what we have. So we actually have 2 teachers who are teaching from home because they're both in the middle of cancer treatment. So they are 100% at home teaching their class from home. So the system we have, Teams, allows that to happen. So every kid at Bishop High School has to have a laptop. So either have to have their own, or the school has given them a laptop. And so that's how the teacher teaches. And we had a teacher last week who had some symptoms, got tested twice for COVID, 2 negative tests, and he taught 100% at home that time. So, we have that ability to have subs that can come sit in the classroom and the learning can still go on.
I was going to switch gears on you guys if you can. Have you seen, because I've heard from neighbors and friends, their frustration with Charleston County School District specifically, and this lack of information that was shared for so long that a lot of families said, that's it, we're going to either the Catholic school or the Baptist school, or, they're leaving the public schools and going private. Have you seen an influx in students?
Well, David, we definitely have lots of inquiries for sure. And if we have space in certain grades, we've been making some transfers in that area, but definitely a lot of inquiries from the public school families.
Yeah, I mean, we're the same way. We had to actually close our admissions process for a while because we were full in our grades that we would accept kids in because of staffing issues, not because of space. But it's definitely, my wife works, she is the director of curriculum instruction at Colorado Christian Academy, and they've had a huge influx of kids coming from the Mount Pleasant area because of the reason you mentioned, the Charleston County schools just not giving information. Our Catholic high school down in the Beaufort area, John Paul II, they've probably registered 40 or 50 kids in that area this school year because of the public schools' lack of information.
Do you have a need or, with this for volunteers? I mean, I realize that's, introducing an uncontrolled variable, to what you're trying to manage.
Yeah, anybody wants to sub, we'll take you.
Substitute teachers are very much welcome.
I'd like to ask, how are kids, especially the young ones, coping emotionally? I just imagine it's hard for some of the young ones dealing with all this. Is this something you're attuned to?
Yeah, thanks, John. Really, it's been amazing how well they have adjusted and they have come to the like this. I think what Patrick said, they were so excited. They were so excited to come back, or if they were new to the school, to see their new school. We've seen a lot of enthusiasm. The teachers are certainly all aware of looking for signs of, being upset or concerned. And even the real little ones, the kindergartners, you certainly expect a lot of, a little crying or looking for hugs on those first few days of school. And we haven't seen it. We have not seen it. It's been a nice, smooth opening of school with a lot of love and support. we just really haven't seen it. But I will say one thing we put in for the CARES Act was for a part-time counselor. We do not have one on staff. So the CARES Act is going to be providing us with a part-time counselor, a part-time school nurse. That should start in about 2 weeks, I think. We're going through the hiring process now, and we finally got approved to get that going. So we definitely wanted to invest in a counselor, to have that kind of service available for our students.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of a situation where a child's someone in the family gets very sick or dies. That could be.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have time for maybe one more question here.
Yeah, and I just want to just, in light of what your responses were, I'm sure you all have seen the article in the miscellany, with the pictures of the kids, and so you wonder if maybe
Last week's miscellany, right?
That's right.
yes,
Yeah.
if parents would see, especially the one with the little girl in the corner, and she's navigating, trying to get her hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could look, it's making them look grown, like they're big and be settled with this and that. And then for some, it just might look a little scary. I don't know, but I mean, I think it did good to really show the reality of what's going on in the classrooms for the parents, and if the child looks at it, it looks like it's not as bad as they might be hearing, being in that setting.
And they have really embraced the mask wearing, right, Patrick? I mean, I know our kids have, and I think they've really embraced it, and it's been fine.
And they're good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
One other thing too, and I heard this on the news this morning, and this is just thought, and you probably know it too, where they said that, while the kids are at home and studying from home, that the younger kids should also practice wearing the mask, although they're not in school. But if they do that for a short period of time, they will get used to it. So when they go into the classroom, then, they're used to having it on, the deterrence of sitting there with the mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's trying to do something, I guess.
Yeah, I think anybody who goes to a grocery store, you got to wear a mask. So if any children accompany their parents to the grocery store, I think they get used to, it did happen over the summer, right? There was a lot of mask mandates or requirements or whatever. So I think people just started getting used to starting to wear the mask more. So I don't think it was quite as shocking, to wear them at school. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Fred and Patrick, I want to be respectful of your time and everyone else's on the Zoom call. So I thank you so much for your time and your comments and information sharing today, and your leadership in the community and all that you're doing to educate kids. It's so important today, and I can't imagine being well. My wife and I are very thankful that our kids are in college now, not having to manage the K-12 world right now.
That's
so,
very well.
But anyway, thank you all very much. Really appreciate that, and thanks everybody for participating. Hope you can make it next month. Welcome any suggestions, ideas, thoughts for how we can make this more efficient and more effective. And just wish you all a blessed day. Thank you very much.
Hey, Robbie.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Frank.
it. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank, for your leadership.
Thanks.